In this next module, we're going to talk about handling events, state, component communication within React. We're going to handle events with controlled component. What does that mean? By default in HTML5, HTML components such as input, the input text box, will have its own internal state. With React, we will need to take control of that state so that the component that we're creating will manage the state itself. We can do this by adding event handling. So we're going to use event handlers to take control of the text of the user input. For example, for a text box component, as the user is typing, we're going to track that event, that onChange event, and we're going to set the component's internal state to track the value of the text box. So we're going to keep things very synchronized within our custom component. We also need state management within our functional components. So traditionally, class components in legacy React had the state management functionality, but with our functional components now, we can use the concept called React hooks. React hooks, such as a useState hook, allows our functional component to have state. And we can initialize our state with the useState hook. Using the hook will give us two methods, usually the state property to manage, such as count, and a way to set the count or set the state on the count. With useState, we can update the state within the component, and this will trigger the virtual DOM in React to update with the state updates. Parent-child communication, we talked about that prior to this with props. Be able to communicate and pass data down from parent to child, we pass props. However, the common problem is how do we get the data out of the child and pass it back up to the parent component? So how we do this is via events. We can pass a function through as a callback to the child through the prop, and via that function, we can actually pass data back to the parent. So a user clicks a button and we have an event handler. We capture the event and then we trigger the callback, passing the data back to the parent. Child component calling the callback. So to recap, parent callback defines a callback function. The parent component passes the callback function to the child via props. In the child component, at some point, it will call or invoke that callback with the data that it would like to pass back. In the parent component, it will realize that the function has been invoked or triggered, and it'll receive the data just as you would pass in a normal functional parameter.